But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Being kind is the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello, and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And, Facebook memories are an interesting thing. They, remind you of the anniversaries that are less memorable. For example, apparently, let me just make sure I got this right. Yes. That this is the 11th anniversary of the day I encountered the biggest twat on Penarth Pier in South Wales. And also the 8th anniversary of the time I got stuck for overnight in fucking London Gatwick Airport. Would not recommend. Because Norwegian Airlines actually mislaid a plane. But it's also the less exciting anniversary of when I apparently every year post about how the Glastonbury Music Festival that takes place, today, is actually, boring as fuck because it hasn't been indie or subversive since sometime in the early to mid 90s. Except this time, interesting things happened, and we're going to look at them. Because you see, the Irish band Kneecap, who Keir Starmer decided to accuse of terrorism because they support Palestinian rights and oppose genocide, they were going to be playing it. Keir Starmer had said it was inappropriate for them to be playing Glastonbury, which probably increased their fandom, because anything Keir Starmer finds inappropriate, that's just going to make it that much more popular. And so the BBC censored it. They literally did not show the most anticipated gig, the most anticipated set at the entire fucking Glastonbury Festival live. And instead it fell to Helen Wilson of South Wales to do a live stream of it that got 1.7 million views. And I just saw Kneecap heard about this, and they've said basically they're hooking her up with free tickets to any show ever. They said she's a legend. But okay. So the thing is, they censored Kneecap. Which just meant that people turned off the BBC, and apparently they moved on to TikTok, where it was being watched. But the thing is, they did not censor the act that came before Kneecap, which was Bob Vylan, a great punk artist who I'd been totally sleeping on until today. I looked at some of his stuff, and he goes in hard. Really good, definitely well recommended. Enjoy his lyrics. But anyway, so Kneecap's set did not get shown because Keir Starmer is not comfortable with them, and instead Let me see, where is it? Bob Villain decided to introduce a new complimentary chat to Free Palestine. Let me see, which was death to the IDF, and everybody was fucking chanting it. Which, I mean, yeah, and that was live on the BBC. So, and as you can imagine, there are jabronis who have opinions about this, and who are outraged, in fact. Here we have GB News, which some of you may have heard of, which is like British Fox News, except without viewers. Like, literally, sometimes their ratings are 0, because nobody fucking watches these jabronis. They are, I mean, it must be operating at a total loss. But they say, BBC Glastonbury outrage! Police probe death to the IDF chant. As Tories demand accountability for a chant that, like, probably 1 million people joined in. So, we're gonna find out about that. But also, the cringecore rapper Kosha Dills decided to respond, and I mean, his opinions are up there with those of fucking Michael C. Rappaport. Gonna check that out first. This is Kosha Dills. This is the shitties. Oh, here we go. Death to the okay, I gotta push that one. Rewind that so we get to see the whole thing. Get my chat widget where I can see it. How's everybody doing today? Here we go. This is Bob Villain. On a mobile phone camera, it looks like. Jewish rapper Kosha Dills responds to Glastonbury IDF incident with Boob Villain. Was that intentional? Is that intentional, or did he just mistype that?
Have you heard this one though? Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Yeah, I mean, you heard that a lot of people joined in, and that went out on the BBC. They censored Kneecap, but fortunately they didn't censor that.
Guys from Brooklyn, it's Kosha Dills. Just looking at this Bob Villain set, it's his name Villain. First off, congratulations on being the villain. Your Glastonbury death for the guy.
Wait, okay, so the idea is that he is a villain because he says death to the IDF? Wow, this guy is totally on the right side of history here. This is not a take that will ever haunt him.
IDF. Another lonely guy who didn't get enough press coverage with 77,000 Instagram followers who playing at Glastonbury.
Well, yeah, that's why he did that, just for the followers. Like, it couldn't possibly be that the IDF is doing something that a lot of people are pissed off about, for good reason.
Let me be on the BBC and say death to the IDF. Now you've put...
Hey, well, and now Kosha Dills has said it, and somebody needs to clip that.
Hundreds of innocent Palestinians' lives in jeopardy.
Wait, he put thousands of Palestinians' lives in jeopardy by chanting death to the IDF in fucking the West Country. How? Explain this to me, Kosha Dills. Bring your fucking pickled knowledge and explain how that is putting the lives of thousands of Palestinians at risk. Because Kosha Dills totally cares about that. That's the only reason he cares about the fact that somebody has revealed just how much people hate the IDF at this point.
Causing mass hysteria while you live in the comfort of your home.
What mass hysteria? Like, your mass hysteria?
Either Jewish, nor you are Palestinian, nor you suffer from this conflict. You think you're...
Wait, okay, so the idea is you shouldn't show solidarity with Palestinians if you're not Palestinian.
Helping Palestinian people, but in reality, you're angering other people.
Wow, he thinks he's helping Palestinian people, but in reality, he's pissing off people who like it when Palestinian people die. So actually, that's not helping Palestinians, because you can't hurt the feelings of people who like it when Palestinian people die, apparently.
The IDF, and now you're going to put innocent lives at risk.
Which innocent lives? Like, can you explain? I mean, it's a 1 minute 27-second video, and we're on second 53. I don't think he's going to manage to explain exactly how. I mean, he hasn't managed it yet. Maybe he's not even going to try.
So you could independently gain popularity, finance, and
No, yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that just gets the fucking money just pouring in like Western countries, it's chanting to the IDF, for fuck's sake. Yeah, right, I'm sure that's how that works.
Feel the romance of a lot of clicks from establishments that never cover your music. Now you went from being a political artist to now a political pundit over.
I don't think that chanting something makes you a pundit. I don't think that's how punditry works, actually. Like, otherwise, there are millions of pundits walking around. Like, is that how pundits work? If you chant something, then you are a pundit? I didn't think that was how pundits worked, but apparently Kosher Deals knows better.
Just like this, and you kind of fuck yourself. Now you're never going to be able to play all these festivals.
Like, maybe there is something more important going on than these festivals. And it's worth noting, Kneecap literally just got charged with fucking terrorism in Britain, and they still play Glastonbury. So, I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, dog.
You don't help anybody, and you've actually endangered lives of Palestinians.
He still hasn't explained how.
All because you thought you need more clicks and more likes.
God, this is, like, weak as fuck. Like, I like how he puts in his video titled "Jewish Rapper Responds to Bob Villain Glastonbury IDF Incident." Like, you aren't even fucking rapping. Like, he has to tell us he's a rapper because you would not know, because all he ever does is talk into the camera and have, like, really the cringest fucking take available. Like, he has absolutely nothing to say about the genocide that's going on. He has nothing to say about the fact that maybe there's a reason that people are kind of pissed off about an army that sets up fucking food for starving people as bait in order to mow them down with machine guns, and sticks fucking OxyContin tablets, it turns out, into the tiny bit of flour that they put in there so, like, the people who survive it might just happen to get hooked on opioids or some shit. Like, I mean, maybe there are reasons people might be pissed off, but he doesn't say anything about that, because he doesn't care about the clicks. He doesn't care about the likes or anything, and he wants to play festivals.
So, congratulations.
I mean, let's just remember that the last time we saw him on this channel, he was clutching pearls because Kneecap had put up, like, a display behind them at their set at Coachella saying, "Fuck Israel, Israel's committing genocide, free Palestine," or something like that. Something to that effect. And that really offended, that also offended Kosher Dills. Because he cares so much about Palestinians, you see. That's the only reason he cares about this. Not because he's a fucking genocidal ghoul. Not because he's just kind of worthless. But because he cares about the Palestinians so much.
You played yourself.
Okay.
2 days ago,
yeah, no, not this shithead again. We already spent it yesterday on this asshole. No. Bye. Because we have to look. We're gonna move on. We're gonna go to GB News, like Fox News without the viewers.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. The BBC decided they wouldn't.
Thank you for your company? Like, he is okay. I mean, looking at that haircut and the fact that he works for GB News, I can imagine he probably needs as much company as he can find, but Like, that's such a weird thing to say. Police looking into comments by Bob Villain and Kneecap.
Broadcast the Glastonbury set of Irish band Kneecap today, I imagine, with the hope of probably avoiding any controversy. But if that was the plan...
Yeah, I mean, they totally avoided controversy. They totally avoided it by censoring one of the most anticipated sets at the fucking festival.
It failed. One of the bands that was shown live on the BBC today, just before Kneecap's appearance, decided they'd take matters into their own hands.
Free, free! Free, free! But have you heard this one, though?
What I love is that all these assholes who are performatively outraged about this, who are, like, I mean, none of whom show even the slightest bit of discomfort with, like, actual Palestinians getting murdered in their thousands. But, you know, somebody chants something. And the result is that this is getting more views than probably the last Queen's speech.
Death! Death to the IDF! Death! Death to the IDF! Death! Death to the IDF!
I mean, thank you, GB News, for giving us a full screenable version of this. Kosha Dills really slept on that.
Well, that's a punk band called Bob Villain. Yeah, me neither.
Well, I mean, but now you have. Yeah, me neither. Wow, I'm sure Bob Villain is so fucking hurt to find out that bad haircut McGB News dickhead has never heard of Bob Villain. I mean, I will admit I hadn't heard of him. But, I mean, definitely look him up. I'm gonna just write that name in chat, because his stuff is good. I watched a couple of songs of his. Check him out. If you like punk, if you like anti-racist punk lyrics and stuff like that, his stuff is really good. Hey, Riveroon. So, yeah, but, I mean, I bet he's really, really crushed. Gutted, in fact, to hear that this dickhead over at GB News, who I think is, like, probably supposed to be studying for his A-levels right now, hasn't heard of him.
Many were expecting the live feed to be cut almost immediately by the BBC, but those scenes played out live to the nation, leaving plenty of licence fee payers, you guys at home, feeling far from impressed.
Yeah, well, don't presume on my behalf, bad haircut guy. Like, they don't have a name for him. He doesn't want this to show up on his CV, apparently. Yeah, I totally slept on this guy. I'd never heard of him, but wow, I mean, I looked him up now, and his stuff is good. Like, I Live Here, I was listening to earlier today in between streams, and he goes in hard. I like, he's amazing. Like, I guess this guy does not want anyone to know who he is because he doesn't want to have to admit to having ever worked for GB News. And plus, I mean, literally, this is a channel that has occasionally had 0 viewers for an entire hour.
And breaking moments ago, Avon and Somerset Police have said they're examining the video footage from Glastonbury today.
Oh, fuck off, Avon and Somerset Police. Avon and Somerset Police will beat the shit out of peaceful demonstrators in order to protect neo-Nazis. They, you know... But this, of course, they're looking into this. They're probing Glastonbury incidents. He said some stuff. Other people said some stuff. Like...
Determine if criminal offences were committed during performances by bands Bob Villain, the guys you just saw there, and Kneecap on Saturday.
I mean, like... What if it's an entire country, an entire state apparatus dedicated to the Streisand effect. Because every time they're trying to, like, get people outraged about this and encourage, like, some sort of state payback for having said these things, they're showing the video, and they're showing how many people joined in that chant. And it wasn't a small number.
Afternoon. The force announced on social media, we are aware of the comments made by acts on the West Holt stage at Glastonbury Festival this afternoon. Video evidence will be assessed by officers to determine whether any offences may have been committed that would require a criminal investigation?
The short answer, no, there haven't been.
Well, I'm joined now by the Shadow Foreign Secretary of the Conservatives, Priti Patel MP.
Oh, well, Priti Patel was disgraced because she actually had secret meetings with Israeli officials without even telling her colleagues in the cabinet. She also wants to bring back hanging. She is an absolute horrible human being.
Dame Priti, good evening. Thank you for your company. Nice to see you.
Like, literally nobody wants to hear from her, which is why she's on GB News.
Tweeted an hour or so ago.
And even her autofocus does not want to be looking at her. Her fucking autofocus would rather look at the wall behind her.
Glastonbury and the BBC are inciting murder and terrorist violence against Jewish people. I'm sure many...
No, they're not. It was the IDF they were talking about. And fun fact, bad haircut dude. By its very legal definition, the IDF is not civilians, which means that attacking them can be a lot of things, but it is not terrorism.
Many people would agree with you. What should happen to the BBC then, in light of that?
I think this is just absolutely horrific, and I'm going to say this. I think the BBC need to have a good, hard
look at how to get rid of link spam from my channel. Yes, I mean, this is like... She's the real-life dead Ramiro.
Themselves right now. Their record over Israel and the conflicts over recent years since October the 7th has been utterly appalling.
I mean, it has, but I'm amazed that she's appalled by it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, please do. I find interesting stuff, and like recommendations too, if you see something. I mean, I find out about interesting stuff because people post in that Discord a lot of the time. Like, what exactly is she appalled about? The BBC has been almost a caricature of itself in its efforts to only ever promote the Israeli line about things. Like, what exactly is she finding to be appalled about?
They've had record numbers of complaints about their own reporting.
Well, yes, because it's fucking pro-Israel.
Failed in the past to effectively call Hamas a terrorist organisation. I was responsible for prescribing them.
Yeah. Fuck off.
What we have seen today is absolutely unacceptable for what is still considered to be our national broadcaster. And let's not forget...
Like, first of all... Like, I mean, what does she think? How is this the BBC's fault, exactly? They censored Kneecap, which was already ridiculous, but, I mean, this is Priti Patel. Priti Patel is a fucking caricature of a fascist minister of the interior. She is absolutely cartoonishly evil and repressive and just a lover of state terror in all its forms. But, so you can't blame them for that. Like, they censored the most anticipated fucking set at the entire festival. They didn't know that what Bob Villain was going to say on stage. Like, even if you buy this idea that this is somehow something that the BBC should not have shown, which, no, fuck that, But how is it at all their fault that they did not anticipate this? I don't think he went and told the BBC, just so you know, mate, just so you know, when I start my set, I'm going to chant death to the IDF. You right?
We are all paying for the BBC. It's a taxpayer-funded institution.
Well, then you're not paying for it. Like, I mean, fucking posh git does not pay any tax.
And, you know, I grew up watching the BBC when they used to have concerts such as Live Aid on, and it used to make us feel incredibly proud.
Yeah, I mean, so what's funny is, so she was proud about that, apparently, but people saying bad things about people who are deliberately starving 2 million people to death, she finds an outrage.
You know, when there were sort of the people coming together to do good things in the world, and now you see the BBC and Glastonbury promoting and inciting violence against Jewish people.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Nobody was saying anything about Jewish people. In fact, you don't have to be Jewish to be in the IDF. There are plenty of people in the IDF who aren't Jewish. Because the IDF will take any racist asshole from anywhere who just wants to go and kill Palestinians. The IDF will take anyone. I mean, they're having trouble getting their own people to respond to reserve call-ups, so they really will take any old asshole. They don't give a fuck if they're Jewish.
Effectively speaking the language of terror and hate, that is just not right. It's unacceptable.
Since when does she object to the language of terror and hate? It's the only one she speaks.
I think really some big names need to be called to account, and I would actually go as far as to say some heads need to roll at the BBC.
Would you go as far as calling for the scrapping of the licence fee?
Well, I'm very pro all of that. I believe in plurality in the media, and I just don't know what we get out of the licence fee, full stop.
There's no conflict of interest here. I mean, the GB News has absolutely no reason why they would like to have the license fee ended for their main competitor. Not that they're actually a competitor, really, because hardly anyone watches this crap. It's actually incredible that it's still in the air.
It's a discussion for, certainly my party will be having these discussions, in terms of our own policy work and things of that nature. But what on earth is going on with the BBC? This is just simply not acceptable.
I mean, you clip this and you show it in 10 years and you ask, what was she talking about there? And it's not them interrupting humanitarian workers and doctors who've just seen tried to work on kids who've had bits of them blown off by snipers and stuff like that, and the BBC fucking newsreader goes, we must interrupt you at this point and say that Israel says that these children deserved it, and to visibly distraught people who have just seen some of the worst shit anyone has ever seen with eyes. She's not talking about that. She's talking about the fact that the BBC, through, I should say, no fault of their own, broadcast Bob Vylan's, I don't know why I keep saying Brian, Bob Vylan's set, which began with him chanting death to the IDF, and thousands of people joining him in him doing so. They didn't set that up. I'm sure he did not tell them in advance, because because we all know they would have censored him just like they censored Kneecap. Because Kneecap was censored, you have to understand, because Keir Starmer doesn't like them. That is the whole reason. Keir Starmer said it was inappropriate for Kneecap to be playing Glastonbury because they're pro-Palestinian. And Keir Starmer is a Nazi.
At all. And I do want to make this other point as well. Had this level of...
You haven't made a point yet, actually.
Being uttered against other minority groups,
The IDF is not a minority group. And first of all, let's just remember, inciting violence against marginalized groups of people is one of the main things Priti Patel does. That was one of her main things as Home Secretary, actually.
People would have been using the language of racism and all sorts of stuff about intolerance.
It's almost like when that's so weird, isn't it, chat? If you incite against black people or other marginalized group, people say it's racist or it's transphobic or something. But if you say fuck an army that is committing genocide, people don't. That's so inconsistent. Obviously, an army that is committing genocide is the smallest minority of all, according to Priti Patel.
Why has this just been accepted?
Well, maybe because they're committing fucking genocide, and outside of your fucking bubble, that actually pisses people off.
And the police are now looking into this. You mentioned the Culture Secretary is calling for the BBC to account for themselves. The question is...
To account for themselves. This is wild. This is just absolutely wild. Because, I mean, like, even if you buy into the idea that this is somehow an outrage, which, no, it fucking isn't. It absolutely is not. It is the only, it's like one of the very few interesting things to happen at Glastonbury since about, like, 1996. But, even if you buy into that, how the fuck is this the BBC's fault? Like, they didn't... I mean, Bob Vylan didn't clear this with them. I think we can be sure that they would be just as censorious to him as they were to Kneecap. Because they don't want to show anything that Keir Starmer doesn't like.
The BBC, you know, knew this was coming. They must have...
No, they didn't know this was... How did they know this was coming? Like, they knew this was... Like, what is this? This is the fucking 9/11 of the BBC? Bob Vylan chanting something? How did they know this? Does she think that he told them?
Out. They would have had advanced sight of the performers because they're...
Wait, okay, so the idea is they saw that Bob Vylan was there, and therefore they just should have censored him on general principle because he's an anti-racist punk artist?
Our performers, I don't think we can call them artists.
Yeah, I mean, because of... Oh, look, a bad haircut GB News guy who's so ashamed of working for GB News that he doesn't even have his name on the screen. He's laughing about the fact that Dedra Mira, I mean, Priti Patel, doesn't think that this is art. Because, I mean, where would we be without her fucking artistic judgment?
Performers that turn up at this so-called festival.
This so-called festival? Like, I mean, the thing is, like, the thing about the fucking Glastonbury is, I mean, a few years ago, The Guardian decided to do a poll of attendees, and it was like 70% of them were Tories that year. And nobody complains. Glastonbury does not get these kinds of complaints. Like, nobody fucking, like, Tories don't complain about Glastonbury. No, politicians do not complain about Glastonbury. They don't. This is not a thing. It's like fucking Lollapalooza or Coachella or something. Like, it is just another fucking music festival that, you know, had sort of indie roots at some point, you know, was very radical at some point early on, and then became progressively less so. I mean, I don't know if that's the case for Coachella, but certainly I seem to remember Lollapalooza being actually fairly indie at the start. Never been to it, but I read a thing, I remember reading an article in like 1999, somebody pronouncing it dead because of all the corporate sponsorship. But, like, this is, I mean, if you're not from Britain, if you don't follow Britain, complaining about Glastonbury is something communists do. It's not something Tories do. I mean, if you weren't there for my introduction, I was talking about my Facebook memories. And how they remind me of all sorts of weird anniversaries. Like, this is the 11th anniversary of the time I met the biggest twat on Penarth Pier in South Wales. Or the 8th anniversary of the time I was stuck in London Gatwick overnight because Norwegian Airlines mislaid a plane. And that every single year, right on this day, I post something about how fuck all of interest happened at Glastonbury. And this is just the first year that I have not had occasion to say that. Like, the fact that Priti Patel is now complaining about Glastonbury, like, this is the most fucking corporate-ass music festival ever, usually.
The way in which they do, they would have known. Surely these people at the BBC would have checked out potential playlists, all this kind of.
Yeah, but this wasn't a playlist. It wasn't a song. It was a chant that he started the fucking set out with. It's not like it's not a playlist.
There are serious questions to be asked of the BBC.
No, they're not. These are not serious questions. These are very unserious questions.
Yeah, I mean, even some very basic questions, such as why wasn't there, you know, a 5 or 10 second delay on the feed, which is quite common for situations like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, situations like GB News because they use racial slurs a lot.
Can I ask you though, how, Dame Pretty, how have we got to this point? We've had pro-Palestine protests on the streets of London most weekends, which is fine.
Wow, it's fine with GB News guy. He's okay with that. That's so nice that he's okay with the fact that there are people who oppose genocide.
On the basis of it, but we've seen all the placards, we've heard the chants and so on. We see very little arrests when it comes to potential offences. And in fact,
yeah, because nobody's doing anything that's a potential offence.
Jewish people who are at those protests that happen to be making their way through, trying to get somewhere.
Oh well, no, they're participating in the fucking protests, you twat.
They're the ones that are told they're in the wrong place. So how do you think we've got to this place in Britain in 2025?
I got it for you, bad haircut guy who wants to remain anonymous despite being a GB News presenter. What happened is there's been this genocide going on, and the British government is actively involved in it, and Priti Patel, despite not being part of the current government, deeply complicit. She had to resign over... let me make sure. Did she have to resign over this? Priti Patel secret meetings, Israel. That's like the first thing that comes up. Oh, no, this was... she was International Development Secretary at the time. This is 2017. Which is the year I got stuck in Gatwick. Yeah. The Foreign Office didn't know about it, and she was she breached the ministerial code and rules on lobbying. Did she have to resign over this? Yeah, exactly. She lied to the public and the Foreign Office about her secret meetings with Israeli officials. That's why she had to resign. So, yeah, and those would have been the same fascists who are now committing genocide in Gaza. So, yeah, I mean, she's very much a part of how we got here.
I'm really worried about this. Let me just say this now, because I was Home Secretary when we had Palestine Action breaking into a defence company in the UK.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people have been Home Secretary when Palestine Action... which the current Labour government are trying to proscribe as a terrorist organization. And it looks like this may actually kill prescription for good. Like, just remove the credibility of it. Because millions of people are showing out in support of Palestine Action. Yeah, they're going to try to ban this group, which if you haven't heard of them, I imagine people in chat probably have. But they do nonviolent direct action, sabotaging companies that make weapons that are used to murder Palestinians. And they regularly get acquitted in court when they get tried for trespassing or criminal damage or whatever. Because British juries, it turns out, don't like genocide and don't like the companies that make genocide possible. And so the Home Office are trying to just proscribe them. And, I mean, they're prescribing a group that has the kind of support they have is not... that's not going to go well for them.
And causing, so much damage. We're not talking thousands of pounds, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds of damage.
Yeah, 2 weapons that were being used, that were and are being used to murder Palestinians. Why didn't you tell them what kind of damage it was?
And the police in particular were watching them, looking at them, but no further actions and prosecutions were being taken.
No, there were prosecutions, they just kept getting acquitted by juries.
Has got to change, they're now being prescribed. I walked past a building in Portland Square in central London today that had red paint all over it. Why on earth aren't the people that are responsible for that being made to scrub those buildings down and pay for the damage that they've actually...
And what about the heist on Aldani? Somebody has to pay for that too.
Committed. It's criminal damage for a start. But you've asked the fundamental question, how have we got to this situation?
Genocide, probably.
I'm really worried. I'm worried that there's been too much social acceptability of this, which I'm embarrassed to even use that.
Okay, looks like we got some more spam. Neat. Right. Goodbye. Like, I think the reason there's so much social acceptability, though, is probably that there's so little social acceptability to murdering huge numbers of people and then dancing around in their clothes on TikTok.
Language, and it's wrong to even say that because people are not being prosecuted. Look, we believe in free speech. And
yeah, you can tell. Because right now they're calling for an inquisition against the BBC. Because the BBC did not broadcast somebody exercising their right to free speech.
And, you know, when you can go out and protest, that's part of our country and our values. But when you see...
You were just talking about how it shouldn't be socially acceptable, though. Oh, right. I mean, she's talking about when Nazis go out and protest by, like, burning things down. She's cool with that.
Types of activities that we've seen: paint, vandalism, criminal damage, you know, language against the Jewish people. We have
no, shut up. No, it is not language against Jewish people. The IDF is not Jewish people.
Our Jewish community in this country are living in fear.
No, they aren't. Fuck off.
Because of this level of intolerance and abuse, and that is simply not acceptable.
Like, since when, like, she cares about intolerance and abuse?
Britain has always been a tolerant country. Look at my own background. You know, yes, I've grown up with degrees of racism when I was a child, but, you know, we live in a real country where communities can live side by side.
A real country.
We have problems now, we really do, and I just don't think this is at all acceptable.
Okay, just finally, Dame Pretty, before I let you go, I appreciate your time. Some people will say, look, the Tories were in power for a good chunk of time. Nadine Dorries was meant to be, or the government at the time anyway, was meant to be pushing forward a review on Channel 4, as far as I remember, and indeed the BBC licence fee. I mean, why did none of that happen? Why did...
See, now we're moving into, why didn't you make it easier for us to compete on the TV market?
The Tories get tough with the BBC?
I don't know. Those were not portfolios that I was involved in. I'm very pro. You've heard me say that I've been consistent about this in my time in politics. The BBC needs a fundamental shake-up and reform. It really does.
What would a future Tory government do with it, the BBC?
So they've had various charter reviews, I do know that, and some new practices around the BBC. And we need more companies to come forward and thrive and grow. And
so more privatization, yeah. Okay, let's see. Are we gonna... Is she just gonna be talking about the license fee? Or are we gonna talk more about the Glastonbury outrage?
Broadcasters and how we've got to change fundamentally the governance and institutions and accountability in this country. That is the right and proper thing to be doing.
Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and company this evening. That's Thank you very much. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel, journalist and broadcaster.
Oh, he's got a panel. Okay, this will be good. Because, like, GB News, for anyone who's just joining... It's like Fox News, except it's British and nobody watches it. Which is why nobody has pointed out to this guy that his haircut needs work.
Linda Jubilee, the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards, and the former Scotland Yard Detective Peter Bleksley.
With a fucking Union Jack tie. What the fuck is that?
Peter, with a tie like that, I'll have to come to you first.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. Oh, shut up.
Patriotic man on the panel. What do you make of these scenes we've seen at Glasgow tonight? Not very patriotic, I guess.
I just feel for the member of staff from the festival organisers who will have got off the phone and said, "We've got Bob Dylan." Only.
The member of staff at Glastonbury who assumes that they have Bob Dylan and not Bob Dylan, right?
For that clown to turn up.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow, I mean, this guy just came right out of central casting of, like, from the mid-1980s.
I mean, really. I mean, just, this is where we've got to in 2025.
Cliff Richards wasn't even at the festival. How are we supposed to cope if Cliff Richards isn't even headlining? I'd say it's a waste of ratepayers' money. I'm going to write to the Telegraph.
When, of course, the arts and culture have always been edgy and politically challenging. In fact, I think that's part of the reason why the arts and culture exists.
Well, then shut the fuck up. Then you should have nothing to complain about.
Challenge, but to stand up on a stage in front of thousands and thousands of people and chant for death, I think now there will be the on-duty lawyer from the CPS that covers Avon and Somerset going through the statute books. See,
well, yeah, I mean, death in general, it was just a pro-death chant, was it? I believe that was a very specific...
In what offence can we find that would suit these circumstances?
I mean, and the thing is, he's absolutely right. They will be trying to just come up with some bullshit offense that they can use in order to get payback for people expressing what happens to very clearly be a pretty widely held view.
As a copper, then, you'd expect...
Because, again, Glasgow, this is not some sort of edgy music festival. This is a very mainstream music festival. It is like fucking Coachella or Lollapalooza. Okay. I mean, is Lollapalooza even still a thing? I don't even fucking know. That's how much I pay attention to music festivals. But, like, if you can get a crowd of thousands of people chanting along with you on that, and then the IDF's already lost the general public.
A former copper, you'd expect somebody to be nicked tonight.
Well, I would expect the CPS to be very carefully looking at the footage. Yeah. Of course, it's a different
Yeah, and they will look at the footage and they won't find shit.
Circumstances from a demonstration, for example, because that set has finished now. Yeah. And that pathetic performer is probably on their way home to whatever hovel it is that they live in. So there's not an instant breach of the...
Yeah, they won't even have a fucking Union Jack tie. God, I mean, like, this guy is like the asshole he's like the drunk at the old man pub who just won't shut up about everything and everybody just goes to the beer garden to avoid him.
There's not public order offences being committed in the here and now.
Except there was no public order offence, because the thing about a public order offence is that it's got to cause a breach of the peace. And it didn't. It just caused a bunch of people to enthusiastically chant along. Like, clearly, nobody objected seriously. Except, like, well, I mean, this dickhead did.
So it would have to be a piece of legislation that would fit the circumstances retrospectively.
Okay.
Well, that is literally what I mean... Yes, that is literally what you always look for when you're trying to find a law that applies to a thing. You're looking for something that will fit the circumstances that happened. Like...
Linda Jubilee, do you have sympathy for the BBC here, or is it yet another Beeb gaff?
I don't have sympathy.
Another Beeb gaff.
For the BBC, and in general terms, I think the licence...
Well, she does rather like green.
...should go, and this is one more reason.
Linda Doubly, I've never fucking heard of her. I'm looking her up. Linda... I mean, she's on fucking GBNews, that already tells me a fair bit. Wait... the first thing I get is an obituary, but it's a different one. No, she writes for the Daily Mail, too. The Great British National Protest. Oh, so neo-Nazi things. Holy shit, I decided to... Oh, wait, did I misspell it? Oh, yeah, it is Duberly, not Dubberly. Okay, let's see. She's got a Twitter. She's got a Twitter, so let's see what she has to say. Ready to go, and she's proud to be on fucking GB News. Yeah. Oh, and of course she's a TERF. So, yeah.
why that should happen. But I do think here that the big irony here is that October the 7th, and Paul and I were talking about this before we came on air, is that some of those heinous crimes were committed at a music festival.
Except, yes, that's what Israel says, and the thing is, increasingly it looks like those heinous crimes were committed by Israel, actually. Like, they had helicopter gunships over the scene and were just firing randomly, and they had to reload.
Yeah.
Where people attending the music festival were actually running towards the terrorists, the Hamas terrorists.
No, they weren't.
Give them a hug. And
That's not true. They just made this shit up. This is complete bullshit. First of all, what you have to know is, according to the festival organizers at the Nova Rave, the minute they heard rocket fire, they called it off. They weren't going to actually continue the festival on the 7th, but they decided at the last minute they were going to do it because they wanted to get one more day in. But the minute they heard rockets go off at the very beginning of the offensive, they called it off and people were already going home. Now, we have footage, actually, of armed security engaging in firefights with, well, you can't see who it is, but we can assume it's Palestinian fighters. That actually surfaced very early on. It was footage that was shared by people who were attending. What she's saying here is just complete nonsense.
Then mown down in the most merciless fashion. Now, the people attending this concert, listening to the...
I wonder if anyone else has been mown down in a merciless fashion recently. What if maybe a few hundred people a day are getting mown down in the most merciless fashion when they're just trying to get fucking food?
Chance need a short, sharp lesson in geopolitics, and they need to.
I think they actually understand about the geopolitics of the thing. I think that's why they're pissed off.
Understand what's going on here, because I fear that what happens is the more you see of this kind of behaviour, we can call it out, but I have a horrible fear that it kind of normalises it.
Maybe what normalizes it is the thing it's in response to. Maybe let me just try a thought here. Maybe it's good that this level of outrage in response to genocide is normalized. Maybe in fact it's not quite enough. Maybe in fact it would be good if it got kicked up a few notches.
Kind of get used to it. The way we got used to protests every Saturday on the streets of London.
Oh God, it's so terrible at protests. What about the way you got used to genocide, which you seem to be cool with?
Sooner or later we get used to these chants all the time.
Yeah, look.
Well, you're used to we get used to these chants all the time. You know, you're trying to enjoy your footage of your IDF goons dancing around in the clothes of women that they just shot, and some fuckers are protesting. What are you gonna do? It puts you off your fucking vid. And then it gets normalised, people protesting about the thing that is the horrible thing that I like so much.
I'm, of course, all for free speech. I've got no problem with people protesting Israel.
I mean, he's totally for free speech. The entire premise of this whole segment is that it's the BBC's fault for not censoring better.
For whatever they think, but Jeremy Corbyn was at Glastonbury yesterday, and he said to the crowd, "Look at the wall that surrounds this festival. There's a message on it saying, build bridges, not walls." I mean, first of all, losing the irony that it was scrawled on a wall in the first place. But Paul, these guys, the left in particular, they preach love and tolerance, and that's
no tolerance. It's so hilarious that the reactionaries keep on going to the word tolerance. Like, when was the last time you heard leftists preaching tolerance? Like, as if that is the value. To tolerate people. I mean, I have literally never heard that. I mean, I don't know. Like in some places, alcohol tolerance maybe, but other than that,
In fact, they are the most hateful group of people I think I've
as opposed to GB News,
ever come across.
Well,
I don't want to know why he had occasion to come across them. Like, maybe you shouldn't be coming across people.
That is no part of any left that I would recommend.
Oh wow! I mean, if a guy who's on a GB News panel is saying that's no left I would recognise, you know you're fucked up.
Militant leftist.
Beyond the pale. I've been fuming all afternoon about since the guy did his so-called act.
I mean, it was an act.
But I'm also fuming about the idiot.
I like how they just throw the words like "so-called" into it, like the so-called festival, his so-called act, this so-called TV station, I guess.
In the crowd, who then responded and chanted the same death chants back, and I wonder if
why aren't you saying the whole thing?
Police can use face recognition on the crowd and actually go through the tapes.
Well, they're so... I mean, not that they're against free speech, but they would really like it if Bristol and Avon Constabulary would use facial recognition on millions of people who joined in a chant against a genocidal army in order to inflict state terror upon them as payback for them expressing their opinion.
It's not just the artist who should be banged up for this. It should be the people in the crowd waving the flags.
Not that he supports censorship. He is very big fan of free speech.
I agree with that completely right.
So your point on the BBC, I mean, Tim Davie has had a difficult conversation with a cabinet minister this evening already, and the government's going to move swiftly on this.
On what? There is nothing.
And I've just had contact with Yvette Cooper's office as well, and they're moving.
Yvette Cooper, for those who do not follow British politics, which, by the way, you're lucky. It is a shit show. There's already enough of a shit show here. Yeah, why do you need an extra shit show? But Yvette Cooper, one of the fun things about Yvette Cooper is that she was one of various people who stood against Jeremy Corbyn in the leadership challenge back in 2015, and she barely got double digits. Like, nobody wanted her, and now because this is the cabinet of people nobody wanted, now she's got a fucking front bench post.
Fast on this. So action will be taken at that level of the BBC. Tim Davie is a perfectly nice man at a personal level, but I mean, as the man in charge of the BBC, he has got to take action on this and work out what on earth went wrong. And
there was a festival, there was an artist, he did a show.
It has been a massive mistake.
Really?
This is quite right. Normally these programmes have got some sort of time delay or something that can cut off before it is broadcast to millions. And yet that death chant was broadcast...
The death chant? That death chant?
To the nation, and that's totally wrong.
I'm not sure about this, and I don't know whether Peter can clear this up, but you could possibly charge the singer, Bob Villan, or members of the audience with malicious... malicious communication. I don't know...
And no, you really couldn't.
Whether that works in this instance, but...
but I mean, not that they're not strong free speech advocates.
It's inciting violence, isn't it?
Inciting violence, absolutely bang to rights.
Inciting, but they didn't incite violence. The whole point of incitement is that something happens. Like, if you want to show that actually led to people shooting at the IDF who wouldn't otherwise have done it, like, go ahead. I mean, I think you'll just be showing that they're more based than everybody already thinks. But, I mean, be my guest.
Why, the CPS will be very hurriedly going through the statute book thinking, which piece of legislation fits these circumstances?
No, I mean, I love how he keeps on saying this, like this is insider knowledge. That is literally just what lawyers do. That is every kind of lawyer in every kind of law job. They get a set of facts, and they're looking for laws that fit them. For whatever purpose. Like, he keeps on saying this, like, wow, he's like, yeah, this guy, he's got the inside mail on with the CPS. CPS, in Britain, that's Crown Prosecution Service.
authorities because obviously they won't want to get it wrong because it's going to be so high profile.
Yeah, I mean, oh wow, I mean, there's a scoop right there. CPS won't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. Okay, we have gone to the BBC on Ben Leo's tonight. We've not heard anything back yet. I suspect they're, trying to...
Well, they probably just don't answer GB News' calls because nobody gives a fuck about them.
A response or something. But yeah, as soon as we get that response, if we do get it tonight, I will share it with you at home.
And now I must go and finish studying for my A-levels.
Isn't it funny, just by the way, before we move on, isn't it funny, I'll say again because she's the most prime example, poor Lucy Connolly, mother of one whose 13-year-old child is still at home without her mum, her husband, who she was a carer for, banged up for 2.5 years for a tweet, which she deleted 4 hours.
Lucy Connolly, what was this tweet? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the... okay, I'm dropping this link in chat. This is the BBC, the people who apparently were supposed to blame for not censoring more actively because this is the free speech people. So, she posted... okay. She started she promoted a false rumor that a person without legal status was responsible for murdering 3 girls at a dance workshop, and incited people to set fire to the hotels housing refugees, which happened. So what they're saying is, it's so weird that when somebody promotes genocidal violence and people do genocidal violence in response, that they get banged up for incitement, but... sorry. But Bob Villain says something in opposition to genocidal violence, and...
later, and yet we have people called, or bands at least, called Bob Villain, whatever the hell they're called.
Oh, no, we have one band called Bob Villain.
Inane name, doing that kind of thing.
Oh, he thinks it's inane. Bob Villain, this guy, I don't know what his name is because he doesn't want us to know what his name is. He doesn't put it on the screen. He wants us to know he thinks your name is inane. I'm sure you're crushed to hear that this dickhead from GB News, who's taking the time off from his normal job as a 6th former, thinks your name is inane.
And yet we're still twiddling our thumbs wondering what we can charge them with. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost like if you incite people to violence and they do a whole lot of violence, there are laws for that. But if you just do a chant and people chant with you and nothing else happens, that's not actually, there are no laws for that. But not that he's totally into free speech. He's totally into free speech, as evidenced by the fact that when Lucy Connolly called on Nazis to carry out pogroms, which they did, based on a lie about a murderer having been a person without legal status, he thinks that she should not have been banged up for incitement for that. But when Bob Villain chants about the IDF, he feels that it's that there needs to be a law against it.
Interesting point.
Because he's a free speech advocate. Okay. So that was GB News. Now you've seen it. Okay, now this is another channel. This is a channel I've never heard of. Glastonbury artist screams death to the IDF while kneecap incite riots live on stage. I mean,
Well, this artist chanted on...
Okay, I don't know who the hell these people are, but they're very angry about Bob Villain and Kneecap. And if you didn't see, the first really actually very interesting thing to ever happen at Glastonbury in 20 years, you're gonna get to see it again.
What this artist chanted on stage at Glastonbury is absolutely not okay. He didn't just chant Free Palestine. Wait for what he says after.
I mean...
Free! Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF.
Wow, she's not amused.
To the IDF.
Look at her, she's shaking her head. She probably took her leg off of the chair, too.
Death to the IDF.
Absolutely horrifying.
Wow, that's absolutely horrifying. Not...
Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
Oh wow, and the idea of Palestine being free is actually, looks like it's making her physically ill.
Oh my goodness, I mean, first of all, why has Glastonbury become all about Palestine? Like, hello, we're in Britain, why is what's going on in the Middle East not just...
Oh, I wonder if it's something to do with the fact that Britain is actually literally sending their air force to assist in the genocide. Like, the RAF have been flying spy missions over Gaza for nearly 2 years now. Britain has been sending weapons. Like, actually, a lot of the companies, the Israeli companies that make the weapons that are used in the genocide, they're in Britain. That's what Palestine action is now being prescribed for damaging.
The main topic of our politics, but the main topic of our music festivals now. Why is he chanting death to the IDF?
I wonder, maybe it's because they're a bunch of fucking murderers, and people like it when they get hurt because that saves lives.
Essentially, you could say that is incitement of violence.
Well, yeah, well, it would be if the IDF were right there, but I don't think the IDF was there. And what people actually went on to do, see, one of the real tests of incitement is what people go on to do afterwards. Do they go on to do the violent thing that they're told to do? Like, fucking Lucy Connolly, people went on and did the violent thing and shared it so other people, other fucking Nazi fucks, would also do it, and you had fucking mass pogroms. I'm not saying that's all down to her, but she certainly played a role in it. Hundreds of thousands of people saw and retweeted what she said. Thank you to GB News. I'm a phrase that I'm amazed that I'm saying right now, for having given me that juxtaposition, because that's perfect. So, the thing is, what people went on to do after this chant the reason that's not incitement is that they went on to listen to him do his set. So what they did was he incited them to listen to music.
Against IDF soldiers, wishing death upon them. And this was what he had behind him. You saw the Free Palestine flag behind him in that clip we just looked at. But
Free Palestine, United Nations have called it a genocide. The BBC calls it a conflict. I mean, yeah, all that. That's absolutely right.
it also says, Free Palestine, United Nations have called it a genocide. The BBC calls it a conflict. I find it absolutely hilarious how the Free Palestine lot think that the BBC are, being way too kind to Israel.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird how when you actually pay attention to the facts and you actually listen to what the BBC say, you notice that every single time that a single adverse fact comes up about what Israel is doing, that the BBC immediately will jump in and go, well, we should note that the BBC categorically deny that these children were unarmed. They say that this was a unit of Hamas terrorist newborns. I mean, the BBC are so fucking biased in favor of Palestine.
In their reporting, when, if anything, I think we all know, well, I mean, the BBC in a report was shown to have breached their own guidelines on the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did, by fucking massively favoring Israel.
Over 1,500 times, and I think the vast majority of those times were where it was giving a pro-Hamas stance.
No, it wasn't.
Rather than...
I mean, and let's just notice that she's definitely not in any way biased. Like, she is just describing, this as the Israel-Hamas conflict, when it's Israel just mowing down large numbers of defenseless people and deliberately starving them to death, and then shooting and then putting food out as bait with OxyContin pills in it, and shooting them as they come to try to get it. Like, yeah, this is the Israel-Hamas conflict, right?
One that gives a balanced view, that puts Israel in, you know, a balanced light. I mean,
but the facts aren't balanced, though, is the thing.
This is the organisation which just quotes Hamas figures on death counts and
That's, I mean, no.
reports about who's killed who just as fact rather than questioning them, even though they come
from... like, she's literally just saying that anything Palestinian is Hamas.
Terrorist organisation. But anyway, so that was Bob Villain, Bob Violin, I don't know if I'm pronouncing...
Villain, see, it's to rhyme with Bob Dylan.
Pronouncing that correctly. But anyway, he wasn't the only controversial figure to make an appearance at Glastonbury. We also had Kneecap, were able to make an appearance despite a heck of a lot of controversy over...
I mean, actually, you see, despite heck of a lot of controversy, like, despite the fact that Keir Starmer is clutching his pearls over them, to the extent of actually coming up with the most bogus ever terrorism charge. And the fact that Irish people being charged with terrorism get this kind of support in Britain... That I should tell you that is not the usual way it works. Usually, Irish people charged with terrorism in Britain have to wait 10 years after it's proved that they were definitely wrongly convicted in order to start getting mass support in Britain.
Whether they should be allowed to appear or not, and did they keep it civil? Did they keep it nice? No, absolutely not. So,
well, what do you mean keep it civil? Keep it. I mean, what about Kneecap? Would you think was going to be, would say, civil and nice?
Not only did they chant, fuck Keir Starmer,
which is a very popular thing. Like, I mean, fuck Keir Starmer is a chant that unites Britain. He is remarkably unpopular.
And get crowds to chant along, but they also were urging the crowd to riot. Yes, and I'm not joking.
Oh, well, okay, let's see that footage.
It wasn't just a general, oh, let's go riot, not really meaningful. It was actually with a time and a place, because one of the people in the Kneecap band is going to be in court for carrying a Hezbollah flag, with Hezbollah being a prescribed...
I mean, for allegedly, I mean, which is the wild thing. Because supposedly, this is on video, and yet everybody, like all the like major media reporting on this, acts like it is in question whether he in fact was holding this flag or not. And also, it's worth remembering this was in character. This is a fucking artistic performance.
Terrorist organisation. He's going to be in Westminster Court, and he has urged people not just to turn up and, hold a placard and protest peacefully. He has urged them to riot.
Citation needed.
Will Keir Starmer now denounce the rappers as far-right thugs inciting violence? I doubt he will. I mean, he did say that they shouldn't perform, but I highly doubt that what they said at Glastonbury will be met with the same force as people who put up tweets during the Southport riot. But then,
oh wow, another one is talking about, like, she's saying she's like really pissed off that people who actually incited racist violence, when some of them actually ended up getting charged with offenses because that's an offense, and people who didn't do that, they're not.
Anyway, let's look at the detail of what is going on here. So you've got the lead rapper Leon Hammer.
That isn't his name. That is like an anglicization of his name.
Hannah, sorry. He is on unconditional bail at the moment after being...
Yeah, well, because the thing is, the charges against him, they wanted to have something that said terrorism in it, because it sounds intimidatory. But they also did not want it to go before a jury. Because if it goes before a jury, first of all, he's risking jail time. And then this becomes a cause célèbre. But also, a British jury will acquit him. Because this is bullshit. I mean, because it's obviously bullshit, and the British public are very much sympathetic with Palestine at this point. So they wanted it to be a summary conviction offense where it goes before a magistrate, and the magistrates in Britain are basically picked by the cops.
Charged with terrorism for supporting Hezbollah, which is prescribed, as of course you will know. And this is what they said on stage. Mo Farah is back in court for a Trump...
Mo Farah. That's Irish. Not Mo Farah. It means my friend. Or my comrade.
terrorism charge. It's not the first time there's been a miscarriage of
Oh
justice.
god, is she gonna try to pronounce Nisha O'Carrollon?
For an Irish
Or Mowgli Bap?
person in the British justice system. So now you know he's available on the 20th of August at Westminster. Support Mo Farah and let's start a riot in the courts. Not just outside the courts, but in them. Not sure how they're going to get
Well,
it
I wonder if that might be one of them metaphors.
in. But God knows what is going to happen.
Well, I mean, I have to say it would be absolutely lovely if that just literally happened, because fuck this.
Later on in the hour-long set, Mo Farah, the guy
Mo Farah.
who is going to be appearing in court, said
Oh, she just skipped over Nisha O'Carrollon, Mowgli Bap, which is probably good because ears would be bleeding to listen to her try to pronounce Irish names. Like, she can't get Mokara right. She clearly has never listened to this group.
Prime Minister of your country, not mine, said he didn't want us to play, so fuck Keir Starmer, before leading a chant against Starmer. So there you go. Now, as far as...
I mean, let's just pause to note that this is somebody who is defending fucking racist pogroms in Southport. She was talking about like what a shame it is that people got done for inciting fucking racist violence and arson attacks in Southport, and she's coming to Keir Starmer's defense. That's what Keir Starmer is.
Excitement goes. This is where, as I said, you've been given a time and a place. So one of the big...
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been giving a date in a place, and Westminster is kind of, I mean, it's not huge, it's not as big as London, but there's a fair bit to it.
Controversies about people who were put in prison for tweets during the Southport riots is you had people who were not naming a time and a place.
Well, yes, because everybody knew when the pogroms were happening, because they were already happening. And that is actually a big factor in an incitement in a prosecution for incitement, is whether somebody is egging on something like this when it's already going on. Because then it isn't just like speculative possibility of some kind of breach of the peace. There is an ongoing one.
Okay, they were very vaguely, possibly supporting the riots in some way.
Oh, wow, I mean, that...
They weren't actually saying, hey guys, let's go meet here at 7 PM with pitchforks and have a riot and cause hell. That is incitement, where you've got a time and a
No, that's not how incitement works.
place, right? So there was a lot of questions about whether the people who put up those tweets should have received any punishment whatsoever.
I mean, this woman has 200,000 subscribers, and here she is defending, like, a bunch of Nazis who went off to try to set fire to refugees. Which, I mean, she's saying that's cool, that you shouldn't go to get locked up for that, but, saying fuck Keir Starmer is not a nice thing.
But in this case, I feel like it is the most obvious, crystal clear case of somebody inciting riots.
Really? I mean, so there was one that actually happened, was there? Because that's kind of an important part of incitement. Like, incitement doesn't really work so well in a situation where retrospectively nothing happened. That was what the cop, the ex-detective asshole with the shitty tie on GB News was saying. he was pointing out that retrospectively, see, if you wait until after somebody says something that you want to use to accuse them of incitement, but nothing happened, it's too late because nothing happened. You can go in and say something was going to happen and charge them then, and then pretend that the only reason that nothing happened was that you intervened. Or if something does happen, then you can do it retrospectively. But if you do it but you can't retrospectively go after somebody for incitement if it didn't incite anything. If nothing happened. And he was explaining that's the problem, and that is the difference between this and the pogroms that she's defending.
20th of August, Westminster courts. Let's start a riot, it says. What will they do? Let's see. And also, they didn't.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait till the 20th of August. Somehow, I don't think he means that literally. But it turns out it is time to wrap up for the week. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And if you came in late, you might want to actually back up, because there was actually some pretty good stuff, I have to say. If you follow the stream regularly, you know I don't generally say this, but there was actually a pretty good start to the stream. And I don't think anyone was actually there for it. But, so you might want to check that out. You might enjoy it. I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on this coming Friday. I look forward to seeing you all then. Have a good week, or as close as you can get to one.